How's it going, everyone? We've been getting a lot of insight on the inner workings of PlayStation recently, with Shuhei Yoshida talking a lot about his experiences and what was going on. And this one I find rather interesting, a story that is making the rounds as he spoke on Sacred Symbols Plus that was available on their Patreon, and a lot of information about Naughty Dog's Last of Us Online that was in development for years and years and ultimately was cancelled after Bungie came into the picture, and then Naughty Dog realized that if they really wanted to make it, it would cause issues with their single-player experiences as well. Yoshida noted that he did play the game and it was great. The idea for The Last of Us Online came from Naughty Dog and they really wanted to make it, but Bungie explained to them what it takes to make live service games, and Naughty Dog realized, oops, we can't do that. If we do it, we can't make Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet, so that was a lack of foresight. Yoshida spoke further on live service games at Sony, stating that no first-party studio had been forced into the genre. From my experience, when studios see the company has a big initiative, they realize riding on that gives them a better chance of getting a project approved and supported. It's not like current PS Studio boss Herman Hulst is telling teams that they need to make live service games. It's likely mutual. Okay, so that, I think people are gonna start taking that point that Yoshida says, oh, none of these studios were forced to make live service games. It's not because of PlayStation, it's not because of Herman that Days Gone 2 didn't happen. A lot of those games, they knew wouldn't have been greenlit by PlayStation if they got pitched to them. Why did Ben Studios' live service game get greenlit in the first place? It's because Sony is gonna be more inclined to greenlight a game like that than they would have a Days Gone 2. Why would Bluepoint be tasked to do a God of War multiplayer game? It's because that's gonna get greenlit and they're gonna get the funding and the support from Sony to create that project. So, to get some clarity as far as that's concerned, I think if Sony was more inclined from the top level to be, hey, we're still gonna be that first-party single-player company, the single-player game company, I think they would have made those single-player games. I think because the overall shift of the mindset of PlayStation was obviously going to the route of, let's do as many live service games as we can, it went into that direction. Now, let's talk about Last of Us Online. So, Last of Us Online was being created by Naughty Dog. I think based on the little bit of information we had on Last of Us Online, Naughty Dog had an idea for the game that was gonna make it more of a story-based multiplayer experience, but I think they had the idea of a smaller scale multiplayer experience, and I don't think they completely comprehended, and you kind of see that from the statement that Yoshida said, the gravitas of creating a live service style of experience, because you can do a story-based live service game. I mean, you kind of have to. That was honestly the idea of Concord. Concord was, we're gonna get you invested into these characters, we're gonna have these episodes. Yeah, how long did that last? But you theoretically could do that with Last of Us as well, where you talk about different characters and their experiences in the ever-evolving universe of Last of Us, and to me, that actually sounds pretty cool. However, I don't think Naughty Dog is of the mindset that, hey, we have to create this narrative for 5 to 7 years that's ever evolving throughout this live service experience. On top of that, we have to consistently update the game. That is going to take significant manpower. I think the idea of telling a contained multiplayer-driven story that has a start and an end point, I think that sounds compelling to Naughty Dog. I think the idea of having an ever-evolving multiplayer experience that they have to be invested into season over season for 5 to 7 years, that's a little bit of a daunting task. For me personally, I love the idea of a smaller scale in-house multiplayer experience that it has a start point, and much like a lot of other games, it has an end point. Multiplayer games in the past would die. I loved Killzone 2. Killzone 2 eventually dies. Killzone 3 eventually dies. I saw on social media like God of War Ascension is still alive, but you get the idea. These games generally just eventually die, and that's fine. For the multiplayer games that I like, it's time to move on with my life. I don't need to play the same game for 10 years. I don't need every multiplayer experience to be like that. Yeah, the live service bag, that's so appealing when you can monetize a game for 5 to 7 years, but it's not realistic for every game to be like that, and not every experience can be crafted with that notion in mind that, hey, we gotta keep this alive for 5 to 7 years. It's unfortunate that Naughty Dog wasn't given the opportunity, or they didn't take the opportunity, whatever. It's just unfortunate we never got that smaller scale multiplayer experience that I think people still want. I think there's an audience for that smaller scale multiplayer experience that has a start point, that has an end point, that we can enjoy for 6 to 9 months, and then we can move on with our lives. And obviously it'll be alive and the servers will be up longer than 6 to 9 months, but you get the idea. You release Last of Us Factions, it's a smaller scale multiplayer experience for $40. I think a lot of people would pick it up. I saw what they did with Factions in the original. Expand that a little bit. Don't go above and beyond. Have a little bit of a narrative emphasis. I would be totally on board with that. I would be totally excited for something like that, but I think this desperation to make everything live service, how can we sell skins, how can we get battle passes every season, I think ultimately that is suffocating what multiplayer games can be in terms of competitive multiplayer games, or even co-op focus. And I think a little bit of Factions was baked into the no return mode of Last of Us Part 2, but I just think we are really narrowing what a multiplayer can be if we're so desperate on live service, that there's other multiplayer styles of experiences that could exist. And unfortunately, Naughty Dog isn't going to be able to realize that with Last of Us Factions, at least not for now. And they are pushing this to the side and working on Intergalactic. I've already made my feelings on Intergalactic well known. And again, we don't have much to work on with that game. Maybe having gameplay would have gotten people more excited, and it wouldn't have had one of the probably the most disliked game trailer from Sony first party in history. Literally in history, the most disliked. That like to dislike ratio, I don't care. Oh my god, social media is just a vocal minority. Yes, at times it is. When it's that obvious, it's not a vocal minority anymore. Do a better trailer. Do a better trailer. Nobody's trying to drop a game with a like to dislike ratio like that. And if you think they are, you're fooling yourself. You're fooling yourself. That's bad game promotion. And it's once again another instance of shooting a game in the foot even before it gets off the ground with a game like Intergalactic. I don't think the character design helps. Whatever. If you think it doesn't matter, great. I'm happy for you. I think ultimately in a character-driven game, character design is incredibly important, and if people are pushing back on it, it just is what it is. I think it's gonna hold the game back, but we need to see gameplay, and that's another instance of why are we revealing these games without any gameplay? It's just crazy to me. And you're seeing Intergalactic kind of face the consequences of that. And can they reveal gameplay down the line and it be fine? Yeah, maybe. I do think there's gonna be a portion of the audience that's already kind of checked out of that game. I really do believe that's the case. I think that game is not gonna do as well as a Naughty Dog PlayStation title should do. Is it gonna sell fairly well relative to a lot of other games that come out? Probably. But in terms of a Naughty Dog game with the budget that that game's gonna have to it, is it gonna sell that well? I honestly don't think so. I don't think so, and we'll see. We'll see in whenever that game comes out, 3 years, 2 years from now, whether I'm right or wrong. I am fairly confident about this, but, you know, I've been wrong in the past, so we'll see about that. But, you know, I'm taking my victory laps, but I will eat crow if I'm wrong about that as well in 2 years. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.